Hello ladies and gents, welcome to another video. Today we're going to be looking at this PS5 which has been sent in, and this has been sent in because the HDMI port has been ripped from the board. So this is a common issue which I'm seeing on PlayStation 5s. I get it quite a lot where the traces end up damaged because the console's either dropped or because the person who's tried to change it has been quite careless. And yeah, this is another situation. I think this one's been dropped, judging by the fact that the HDMI port is still in there and I can see some traces. So yeah, I don't know, but I think it's been dropped. So one of the big problems with this is people don't use the base, and that causes it to get knocked over. Now, I've got two PlayStation 5s, literally, which my kids use every day, and there's no base to them, and they don't get knocked over. And that's because they get taken care of, and people are just careless in general. So anyway, with that being said, we're going to take a look, see what we can do, and hopefully get this fixed. But if you are new to the channel and you like this type of content, then I would really appreciate it if you hit subscribe and turn on the bell notifications, and that way you don't miss any future videos. And if you've got a PlayStation 5 or any other device that you need repairing, then feel free to check out the description where you can book in a repair on my website as well. Also, if you want to support me in any way, then there'll be some Amazon links in the video description. If you buy anything from Amazon, if you use my links and then buy whatever it is that you want to buy, whether it's the equipment that I use or something completely different, if you click on the links, then you'll be able to help me out by giving me a little bit of commission based on whatever you buy on Amazon. So if you just open the link whenever you need to buy something from Amazon, it'll help me out, and I really, really appreciate it. So as you can see from the port there, we can very visibly see that port is damaged, and also that there's some damaged traces. I am going to turn this on and just see if it wants to power up. Make sure that it goes to a white light and make sure that it's actually working before I attempt to do any repairs to it. There's a bag stuck to the stuck to the console, but I haven't been in it myself. This has been looked at by another technician and then it's been sent to me because they obviously can't do the repair. Okay, so I just want to see if it goes to a white light, because if it don't go to a white light, then I haven't actually opened this myself yet, and obviously I don't want to be blamed for anything, if anything was to go wrong. So let's just turn it on and just see if it goes to a white light. I did have one last week that didn't go to a white light. It was a 2-second blood, and there was liquid metal all over the place, and that was after someone looked at it as well. Okay, so we've got the white light there. You can just about, well, you can make it out there now. But we've got the white light, so that means that it is actually turning on. It's in a little bit of a state, but I'll give that a clean up at the end. In fact, let's just do that now. A bit of isopropyl alcohol. There we go. Nice and clean. Okay, so I'm going to shut it down. Press and hold the power button here. There we go. And I'm going to wait for the lights to go off and then unplug it. And there we go. Okay, so we're ready to go now. So as long as I know that it turns on, I know that I'm not going to get blamed for anything if, for example, it had other issues. Or at least as far as the white light goes. And just disconnect these cables. So these cables here, I had to replace one of these the other day, and if you can't find one of these at all, if you need to replace it, you can use a PlayStation 4 original power supply cable, or rather power cable for the disk drive. I am going to be working on a video soon regarding the connector to the disk drive, because you can't buy the 25-pin connector at the minute. You can buy the ribbon, but you can't buy the connector. Okay, so I'm going to get this apart. Like I said, I'll fast forward through this. It's kind of boring. We don't really want to be sitting here watching while I take it all apart, do we? So I'll get into it and then I'll pick up the video when the board is out. Right, okay, so let me just zoom in here a little bit because this is kind of interesting. This is an EDM 020 and I've never seen one of these revisions. This is a new revision of the PS5. I am noticing one difference so far, and that is the heatsink clamp. So we've got a different heatsink clamp here to what we usually have. So that is one difference. If we look at the clamp for an original PS5, it is very slightly bigger. So there is a minor shape difference there. Interesting. Very interesting. So that's smaller. So I don't know if the EDM020 is the one with the smaller heatsink. This does look smaller, so we've got a bit more of a gap there. So I don't know if that is the revision, but as far as I know, the smaller heatsink version had the EDM010. So we've already got a new revision. Interesting. I am going to take some high def pictures, some 4K pictures of this board. Okay, so let's just take a quick look here and just see if I notice any changes. So we've still got the 864739. Yeah, this is definitely snapped off. So yeah, we've still got the same encoder. Still got the same south bridge. The same APU by the look of it. I mean, this is really annoying when people do this. They take these pieces of foam off, and that prevents it from splattering liquid metal everywhere if it's dropped. It's really annoying when people do that. It really does wind me up. I'm seeing a few slight changes here around the VRMs, but other than that, I'm not really seeing much of a difference. There's a thermal pad on this coil now, on this inductor, or coil. I think it's a coil. Yeah. Oh well. And we've probably got a different SSD revision. We've got the SEC119. Let's just have a look at the SSD from the original. Yeah, 826. Hang on, is that the RAM? That might be the RAM. Yeah, that's the RAM. Okay. There's the SSD. Yeah, I don't know the model number to this one. I can't see because there's flux on it. Yeah, I can't see the model number on that, but it is a different SSD. Okay, so we've got a different SSD, we've got a different heatsink, we've got a different heatsink clamp, and it looks like we've got some VRM changes. Okay, so yeah, like I said, I can see clearly that this has snapped. And I can see clearly now the port has gone. Well, it ain't gone, it's there. I'm a terrible singer. That's gone with some spectacular fashion here. I don't know if the traces have actually become damaged, but that port has very visibly snapped off. Okay, well, let's just put this away for a minute. And I'm going to need to clean this port up, so I'm going to need to get rid of these snapped off ground holes here and also clean the ground pads out. So the first thing I'm going to do, I've got my hot air at 480 degrees Celsius, and I'm just going to heat it up. I can also see that the diode for pin 13 is knocked off the board as well, or rather partially off the board, which is fine. We can sort that out. Okay, so there's that. I've got a solder sucker here. So I'm just going to clean out these ground holes using a solder sucker. There we go, that's beautiful. Alright, let's pop under the microscope, we'll see what's next. Alright, so you can visibly see where the impact damage has been here. So we're going to have to do a little bit of cleanup. So let's just add a little bit of flux here to this. Okay, so I'll just get rid of that diode there. That looks like all we've got to move for now. So let's just clean up these pads. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just add some leaded solder to the mix. And what that will do is just lower the melting temperature, and then I'm going to wick it all away, and I'm going to start afresh. I'm pretty sure the 0.1 microfarad capacitor is in there somewhere. If it's not, it's not. Whoops. Okay, I had a screw stuck to my tweezer there. Is that the cap? I think it might be, but it's a little bit too far gone, so I'm not really going to worry about that, to be honest. I'm not really that concerned about a 0.1 microfarad capacitor. It works absolutely fine without that cap. There's plenty more on the line. So I'm just going to clean up these pads, and luckily this hasn't become damaged in any way. So there's no traces actually damaged there. That's quite surprising, because that snapped with spectacular fashion. I've got really bad shakes today as well. I guess it's a good job that there's no damage traces. There we go. Perfect. Beautiful. I think I might need to change that. Oh yeah, that's gone. Yeah, I'll have to change that. Okay. Well, never mind. Okay, so the diode from there is the same diode as pin 13 on a PS4. And it's exactly the same circuit pretty much. Or at least in principle. Alright. So we've got a replacement diode. I'm not really bothered about that cap. You know, it's not a major issue having it missing. It's going to work absolutely fine without it. So I've got a replacement port here. Actually, let's just clean off the circuit first. So I'll warm this flux up. Add some isopropyl alcohol there. And there we go, nice and clean. So let's just drop the port in. And I'm going to add some flux. And I've got some solder on the end of my iron here. So I'm just going to add a nice blob of solder, just to hold it in place there. And then I'm just going to drag across all the pins. Alright, I'll clean the tip of my iron, and then we're going to go again. I'm just going to keep dragging across, cleaning the tip of my iron as I go. Okay, so that's all grouped up. So I think now I can just come in with the solder blade and just gather up that little bit of solder on the corner. There we go. Alright. Let's just clean that up so I can inspect those pins. And I'll dry off that IPA. I think we've got a bridge at the end. Trouble is, it's kind of difficult to see the back of the port. The light gets blocked by the port itself. Alright, I think that's good. I think it's okay. The keyword there is think, and I'll never make assumptions, so I am going to be checking it, both with the nudge test and with the continuity check to make sure there's no bridges. That looks good. It looks okay, but let's check it. Okay, all of those pins appear solid. So let's do a continuity check and make sure we've got no bridges where we can't see. So I've got the multimeter in continuity mode. That's the mode that's going to beep when I complete a circuit, and that's going to tell me if we've got a short between one pin and the next one in the line. I'm just going to move along between all of the pins. Occasionally you'll hear a beep because I'd have slipped or something with the probes, like whoops, like that. It's very difficult to see because the port itself, like I said, the light gets blocked by the actual port, so it makes it rather difficult to see. So if I hear a beep, I always double check because I keep slipping off the pins. I can feel the pins, but I just can't really see them that well. So like that, for example, you heard a beep and then I've double checked it and it's fine. So yeah, everything's fine there. We're all good. And I'm just going to clean up these pins just a tad with the soldering iron. Just make it look a little bit better more than anything. I do like to take pride in what I do. Okay, that's a little bit better. Let's just pop a little bit of solder on this big resistor. I think it's a resistor. Shut up, multimeter. Alright, let's flip the board over once we've cleaned this up. Get rid of that flux. There we go. Never leave the flux there. Someone said to me the other day, someone left a comment saying that I shouldn't be using Kingbo RMA218 for flux. Why? I'll clean it up anyway. Stop being a sheep and stop overpaying for flux because you're just burning money away. Sorry, but I'm not going to be paying for Amtech. I don't need it. It works just fine with Kingbo. And one thing I always do is make sure that my board is 100% clean. Even though Kingbo is no clean flux and it's not actually a problem if you do leave some on the board, it just looks a mess. But it's no clean flux, it's not going to hurt the board, and I've proved that by leaving flux on a board for 12 months straight, exposed to the elements. It still didn't corrode. It still didn't corrode. It didn't rust, it didn't corrode, it didn't eat away at the board. It was absolutely fine. Okay, so I'm going to clean this first. The reason I'm cleaning it first is because we don't want any contaminants in the solder. So we want to make sure that it's nice and clean before we actually work on it. And what I need to do is just solder these ground legs in. It's a little bit out of focus at the minute, but not for long. So we don't want any contaminants in the flux, or rather in the solder. So we'll just clean it first and then add flux. Alright, so I'm just going to solder one ground leg for now. One of the front ones. So solder one, and then what I can do is just push up on the port. It's going to burn my finger, I guarantee it. I'm going to push up on the port and just make 100% sure that it's as far as I can possibly get it, so as it's flat to the board, and then I can do the other ground legs. Ah, the power of surface tension. Didn't that look pretty? Alright, I'm not that fussed about what it looks like right now, because I am going to be using a bit of hot air with it, just to make sure that the solder pushes through. So I'm not bothered too much about what it looks like immediately. I just want to make sure that we've got solder there. So one thing you've got to remember is this is a port which is going to take a lot of strain. There's a certain person on YouTube, I'm not going to mention his name, but there's a certain person on YouTube who kind of tried to copy my video. So I did a video based on a warranty job what come in because I hadn't put enough solder on the ground legs, and I took responsibility. And then I saw someone else do a video titled pretty much exactly the same 4 days later, where he said, no, I'm not taking responsibility, it's your fault, it's the customer's fault, blah blah blah. And it turned out he hadn't put enough solder on the ground leg, basically didn't take responsibility. And yeah, I just want to say to that guy, because I know he's going to watch, it's your fault. You need to make sure that the solder goes all the way through and that there's enough solder on the ground legs. I'm not going to mention his name, I don't want to hate on people, but he started slagging off my work, and then, you know, I looked at his work and honestly it was kind of disgraceful. Okay, so there's those two. But to that person, you know who you are. Okay, and there's those two. So what I've done here is just used a bit of hot air, and what that does is it allows surface tension to pull the solder through. Which is why there's now less solder on the top of the board. Now I'm going to add more solder to the top of the board. And there we go. And now that's got enough solder on it. Let's just clean that up. Alright. That looks absolutely beautiful. Nothing wrong with those joints. Let's have a look from this side and just see if the solder pushed through. And it did, but not enough. Not as much as I would like it to. So I'm going to do this side as well. There we go. That got it, look. So one thing you got to do is you just got to make sure that you do a proper job of this when you're doing it for a customer. I mean, if it's your own console, then fine, do what you want. I mean, I had it the other day on my own Xbox Series X where I just didn't care too much because I'm capable of fixing it if something goes wrong. Now, I still tried to do a decent job, but I wasn't that bothered, if that makes sense, because it was my own console. I wasn't all that fussed. But I still tried to do a proper job at least. Okay, that looks absolutely fine to me. It doesn't look like we're going to get any problems with this in the future, or in terms of reliability of this port. Whether or not the customer damages it again, I mean, you know, they probably will. People who damage ports tend to damage them more than once because they just don't take care of the devices. Some people learn the first time, most people don't. Most people it takes 2 or 3 times to actually learn. I'm just being honest here. Alright, so that's nice and clean. So one final time I'm going to flow the solder on this side, and that should make the solder on both sides meet up, if it's not already. I'm just being a little bit extra cautious here because PS5 HDMI ports are weak in general. And there we go. Just one last clean up and we're done. That looks absolutely perfect. A little bit of IPA still under there, but IPA is not going to hurt it. IPA is non-conductive. But yeah, this is what I mean about the ground legs. If you take a look here, you can see that we've got enough solder there on that side, enough solder on that side, and then on the other side as well, we've got more than enough solder. Onto the APU. So we need to add some liquid metal. So I'll first start by just prepping the area, just cleaning it. That's actually not any kind of dirt by the look of it, or any kind of contaminant. It's an imperfection. Is that caused by the liquid metal? Wow, what's the deal with that? Alright, well I don't think there's anything I'm going to be able to do there. Never mind. Whoa, way too much. I hate it when that happens. Just going to suck some of that back up there. Alright, so what I do is just basically give it a little bit of a scrape. Someone told me what this was called, and I can't remember now. Like when you are basically preparing the area. Alright, there's a little bit too much on there. There we go. Okay, there we go. That is beautiful. And we are done. Alright, so I'm going to get this ready for testing. There we go. Okay, and I'm just going to pop a couple of screws in here. So I'll just want to hold things down for now by just putting screws in strategic locations. There we go. And we are ready. One thing I do need to do, one thing I haven't done yet, is just cleaned out the inside of the port. So whenever you work with a HDMI port, when there's soldering involved, what tends to happen is flux ends up in the port. And if flux ends up in the port, then you're going to get contact issues. It does prevent the port from making a contact with the cable. So just give it a little scrub, use a bit of IPA and a toothbrush, and you'll be good. And then what I also do is, after every repair as well, I also clean my HDMI port. So I'll just put a bit of isopropyl alcohol on and inside the cable. I said port then and I meant cable. So I'll put isopropyl alcohol inside the cable and then just plug it in. But I unplug it a couple of times just to displace any flux what might be inside the cable. And then, yeah, that's pretty much it. Okay, we're going to get the power cable here, plug that in, and this is connected up to my capture card. Okay. Buttons work. Let's just see if we get a display. Yes, we do. There we go. We have a display. That's brilliant. Fantastic news. I'm going to sync up a controller, and we've just lost display. I think my cable's faulty. I had this issue on another PlayStation very recently, as in this morning. Unless there's still flux in the port. But it might be a case of I need to replace the cable. I have just synced a controller, so that is synced up. I've got a feeling I might need to replace my HDMI cable for the capture card. To be fair, it does get used on a regular basis. Come on. Yeah, I can see little spots on the display. Okay, let me try it with my TV. I can see little spots on the display, which is telling me that my cable itself is faulty. I'll plug it into my TV. Alright, well, there's not really much of an elegant way to do it. I need to change the cable, and it's not really the best thing to do while I'm recording the video. So, yeah, I mean, I can see very clearly there that the display is working. So I'll press OK. Okay, and let's just test and make sure that it picks up the internet. Not really very elegant. I'm holding my camera in my hand right now. But yep, there we go. Picks up the internet. I'll give that a full test later. Let's just make sure that we're in 4K. We are. Fantastic. Excellent. So that's all working absolutely fine. Good to know. Okay, there we go. So, yeah, this looks like it had been dropped, and unfortunately that ripped the HDMI port out, but luckily, no damage traces. So, I think the customer definitely got lucky here. I'm not sure why the other shop couldn't do it. They do offer HDMI services, but, you know, I'm not going to complain. Money for me. So, yeah, simply by cleaning up that HDMI circuit and replacing it, it's working absolutely fine, and it's displaying in 4K. So, I'm going to have a happy day. I'm a poet and didn't even know it, but never mind. So with that being said, that is going to be it for this video. Thank you very much for watching. If you do have any comments or questions, leave them down in the comment section down below. I'll always do my best to answer. If you do want to organise your own repair, there'll be a link in the video description to my website where you can book in the repair, or where you can get in touch if you've got a query about the repair as well. If you want help fixing your own device, head over to Discord. There's a link in the video description to that. We've got almost 1,000 users on Discord now, so absolutely fantastic. I really do appreciate that. It's a really nice community. People are more than happy to help. And yeah, if you've got any problems at all, head over to Discord and either myself or one of the community members will help. If you like this type of content and you're new to the channel, then I would really appreciate it if you hit subscribe and turn on the bell notifications, and that way you don't miss any future videos. And if you want to support me, there's several ways that you can do that. You can become a Patreon supporter using the link in the video description. You can become a channel member by clicking the join button down below the video, just next to the subscribe button. You can head over to Twitch, and if you've got an Amazon Prime account, then you can do it for absolutely free. You give me around about $2.50 every month, but it doesn't cost you a penny to do. Just head over to Twitch, link your Amazon Prime to your Twitch account, and then you can subscribe to me that way. And like I said, it gives me around about $2.50 a month. Really does help out the channel. Or there's some direct donation links in the video description, as well as a link to PayPal, as well as a link to my card processor. Card processor is always cheaper. Well, it gives me more money, less commission. But yeah, I really do appreciate the support, even just watching. Give the video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. And until next time, I'll see you later. Bye for now.